those of you who are part of our field trip, and we thank you very much for giving some more of the afternoon to this, and especially want to thank the health department for all their extremely hard work to put this whole thing on, and thank Rick for giving his day. We ask him to do training with us all the time, and he's very accommodating. And the Cabo River Society does feel like this is just about the best example of using a whole lot of different low-impact development techniques in one site to solve different problems at different places. And it's an example of how you look at a whole range of BMPs. And one of the things that's been a lot of fun for the Cabo River Society, once we got into this kind of collaborative program with people in development, is that we got together, or we were actually invited by Davis Architects, the architects on this, to talk with them fairly early before they even really had much of a site concept for this. And that's the time you have to think about low impact development. You can't wait until the site concept's already developed. You have to do it right up front before you've even sited your buildings and major things. So we got together, and periodically we met with them throughout the design development process. And what was fun is that gives us an opportunity to learn from the design team, and it gives them an opportunity for us to kind of push the envelope and ask them to try different techniques. So between us, during the design process, with Rick's great help, there were a lot of different possibilities looked at for this site. There were some that were rejected. It was like, okay, this won't work, and here's why. And it was so helpful for us at the Cabo River Society to understand, here's why this particular practice that may sound good on paper won't work on this site, and for this reason. So it helped us become more practical in our approach to all of this. But also sometimes there were things that worked that maybe the design team didn't know would work. And so it's been a good learning process, and that's why we call it a collaborative process. When we work together with a local government or a development entity, in this case with the school board. We've worked with Vestavia Hills on Patchwork Farms as an example. And then we've just worked strictly with private developers. We're working right now with U.S. Steel and Daniel Corporation for Grand River and Leeds to see how we can kind of push the envelope and what can be achieved there. And we're really excited about that. So that's the way we like to do this, and we think that what comes out of that is just much better. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rick.
Okay. Well, first I want to thank Sean Nutty with Trussville City Schools and Barry Davis with Trussville City Schools for being here with us. We can ask them some questions. They know everything about the project probably better than I do. So Barry handles all the support services, making sure everything's running right, and then Sean wears that hat, but then also handles a lot of the IT things. So appreciate them being here. But if we want, I've got a little site plan. We can kind of do a tour. We'll probably go up here and kind of look at the bioswales first. If you want, then we can either walk back along the back side of the building, along the river, see some of that. We can go to the detention pond and kind of look at some of the woodland parking, make our way back up here, if that works.
You're on your storm drain. Where they going?
Everything, the reason we have curb on this parking lot, or this part of the parking lot and that part, is we were trying to capture all the water.
Right.
So as we come into here, there's an underground detention system in this area right here.
Okay, so you're going to the underground detention
Yes, sir.
system.
And then it actually discharges back out through there. You see the two handrails?
Mhm.
There's a pipe that actually runs back through that area, and we discharge back towards the
Way
river.
back from the river so that there's room for it to. And also, did y'all end up doing the bottomless culvert essentially as your underground detention?
No, we went with the HDP, the 60-inch diameter plastic pipe.
Did you
Just when
consider doing it bottomless? Because that's another thing that can be done, is even when you're doing the underground conveyance and detention, you can do basically a culvert that's this part, but not this part, it's gravel, so that you're getting conveyance, but you're also getting infiltration right there in the culvert.
Yeah.
Did y'all consider that?
Well, at the time we did this, that's some of the new chambers. They really hadn't gotten that far along when this was put in.
so you
now,
just didn't have the product yet.
Now actually at Oxford High School, there's a new, if you see when you're driving down the interstate, their football stadium, there's a practice football field behind it. That entire football field has an underground chamber system. We took the whole limits of the field.
Right.
Now what we did here, if you'll notice, this parking lot is a little higher than that one, and then we kind of tiered it up. One reason we did that is we didn't want the water just to simply run over and run to the next one. We were forcing it to detain in this area, and you can see it's really starting to green up. I'm not a landscape architect, so I can't tell you what all these plants are, but I know the landscape architect looked at it, and there are different type plant species that can break down the oils and those kind of things. So we really got very finite on this. And then one thing Beth and I were talking about, I mean, if you notice, you've got the curb line over there and the existing trees. You know, we worked really hard on the grading plan to make sure that we could tie as close to grade as we could all the way around.
That minimized your footprint and minimized your sediment and erosion control needs right up front and kept as many trees as possible.
So, you know, that's one part of just doing green building and lead. If you can try to keep from doing that disturbed area. I don't know if you noticed when you came in the first entrance, that retaining wall. You know, if we wouldn't have put that retaining wall in, you know, we're trying to catch a 2-to-1 slope with another 2-to-1 slope. Well, you just chase it all the way up the hill and you never catch it.
You got problems with 2-to-1
until you
slope
get the top.
anyway, trying
It doesn't
to
stabilize well.
2-to-1.
Yeah.
It's just too steep.
Yeah.
Again, you know, it's going to take some time to get the grow in, but as you can see, I mean, I think we've got what, 2 years on the landscaping basically that's grown in. So, you know, a little bit more time, but it is starting to.
Now, do y'all have to irrigate this in dry weather, or is it drought tolerant?
No, it's irrigated.
It is irrigated
But I know he
But
spent.
it's
irrigated from the pond.
from your captured stormwater.
Right.
Now he did, you know, try to go in here and do more drought tolerant plantings. You know, sod's the worst.
Right.
It's the worst one to do.
You don't want to do that.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
was
different
gonna
sod
ask-
out now that's supposedly not as heavy on the water, but it's still something you have to irrigate a lot. And if you notice, there's not a whole lot of sod around this school. You've got some at that main entrance, and then really the ball fields on the other side is really all the sod. Again, a lot of the mulch debris that you see was actually the material that was left on site. It was ground back up and reused. So again, instead of just hauling that material off and then paying later to haul it back in, you know, trying to reuse part of the renewable, recycle, all of that component of the sustainable design. I think with all the landscaping now, but we do have some inlets. We spaced through here, and what we did is we put them about 6 inches above grade. So this parking lot this area has time to fill up, perk in on the lower, you know, flow storms, not the flash floods. It's able to get in and not even get into the storm system. But then on the big flash floods, just to keep from flooding everything out, it goes into our underground detention system.
Did you do some soil amendment through here?
Yes, and you know,
What's that like, and how deep does it go?
typically you want to be in about that 3 to 4 foot range, and you can go. There's all kinds. I mean, we've seen pea gravel mix, sand mix. You know, I was reading a little study earlier today, and it was talking about on the detention part that they actually had a lot better. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I think it was total suspended solids as far as just being able to capture that they had a better rate if you didn't do the under drains in it. So we just have a small collection line that picks that water up and then did the soil amendment.
And one of the great things about low impact development and all this new technology is there are all these business opportunities in this. There's a lot of entrepreneurial small business opportunities. There are a lot of business opportunities for firms like LBYD.
Well, that's when we were talking. We did a presentation this past week at the Association for Concrete, and you know they're really saying, hey, this is a great sustainable product. It helps you with reflectivity. We're using fly ash. We're using all these other byproducts to make ours. So we're actually using recycled content. You know, how can we set ourselves differently and set ourselves apart from the asphalt industry? So if you want, we can walk down this side. We can go back behind the
From the river, they've got the outfall handled well now, and then they get it to spread out in this area, and you're going to have some pretty good ability to get infiltration and evapotranspiration in these kind of the river buffer zones or setbacks. And so it spreads out through that entire area. A lot of it infiltrates. It filters through the forest floor.
surface area is about 0.62 acres, and we hold about 165,000 cubic feet of water for a storm surge. Then you've got another 71,000 cubic feet on top of that with potential irrigation water. So we got some water stuck back in this corner.
Does this irrigation water, does it go to another tank or does it go straight to the
Go
pipe?
straight to the system because there's your pump there, and we pump there, we distribute from the pump.
Like I said, if anybody ever has any questions, feel free to call me, and we'll be glad to help out. Barry, I appreciate your time.
Anytime.